They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. With a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Down it always seemed to go, and you don't know what you got till it's gone. They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Shoo bop bop bop, shoo bop bop. They took all the trees, put them in a tree museum, and they charged the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Shoo bop bop bop, shoo bop bop.
Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Andrew and I'm a member of FirstU's Board of Directors. It's good to be with you. This morning, in the spirit of Ontario's current stay-at-home restrictions, all members of the worship team are coming to you from our homes. We hope to continue live streaming from our sanctuary in mid-February. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes. If you are new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. Following our service at 11:30 a.m., do join us as well for our virtual hospitality hour. You may find the Zoom link on our website at www.firstunitarianottawa.ca or in our weekly email newsletter, the EUU. It's more important than ever to sign up to receive the EUU. Check our Facebook page and our webpage for notices and updates. Our online calendar is as full as ever. Do look to our website for the latest updates on our ministerial search. Also note that we have closed item intake and collection for our online auction. Bidding dates will be coming soon to our website and in other communications. Please save the date, Saturday, January 30th, for an important FirstU Zoom Visioning Town Hall that will be a first step in the long-term planning process. What is your and what is our vision for FirstU 10 years from now? We will come together to share our ideas. The town hall will be divided into two sessions, a morning session from 10 until 11:30 a.m., a lunchtime break, then beginning again from 1:30 until 3 p.m. More details will be forthcoming. Again, welcome. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, and however you identify, today you are a part of our spiritual community.
Thank you, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. Although we find ourselves in separate places, here we are online, listening, connecting, and soon singing together. As Andrew mentioned, do look to our Facebook page, website, and weekly EUU emails for information about all the happenings in our congregation. The latest EUU noted listings of social gatherings, other small groups, and adult learning programs being offered by our intern minister, E.N. Hill. Do welcome our minister, the Reverend Patricia, Guthmann, Haresch.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Lisa. Bonjour. Good morning, everyone. I am Reverend Pat Guthmann Haresch. Welcome to my home during this lockdown. I want to wish you a Happy New Year of the Trees, a not so well-known Jewish holiday that will occur this week, or Jewish festival. I'll speak more about it this morning. But as we are reflecting on trees this morning, the wise teachers, the gift that trees are to us, I'm going to read a poem from a poet known as Antler. And as I read these words, you might even close your eyes and imagine yourself not on a wintry day, but on a sunny, warm day, perhaps sitting against a tree and looking up into its branches, or lying in soft grass shaded under a canopy of leaves. Here's the poem. I want to lie down in dappled leaf shade, in quivering shadows of quivering leaves, be they oak, be they maple, be they elm or birch. I want to rest on the play of shadows over my reclining form, the massage of shadows which consoles me in its way, restores for me with whatever restoration flickering shadows of leaves afford. Be they willow or aspen, be they poplar or beech, I want to be caressed by shadows of wavering leaves, soothed off to sleep, feeling the gentle breeze, looking up at the rustling, sun-drenched crown, be it basswood, be it chestnut, be it walnut or hickory. After all is said, after all is done, perhaps this is the way I would die. Let us sing the Chalice Song.
Chalice, chalice, burning bright, help remind us with your light of how we'd like to live each day with love and truth helping lead the way.
Hi everyone, it's Nao, your Director of Religious Exploration. Hope you're all doing great on this Sunday. Today I'm sharing with you a little story about a squirrel and the maple tree. Indigenous groups like the Mi'kmaq, who are among the original inhabitants in the Atlantic provinces, named all the moons around the year based on what was happening in nature. One of the moons is the sugar maple moon. That's when the sugar maple trees start to produce sap that can be boiled down to maple sugar and syrup. Canada is the largest producer of maple sugar in the world. Long before the Europeans came to Canada, the Indigenous were making maple sugar. Have you ever wondered how people got the idea to make maple sugar and syrup from the sap of trees? The Iroquois are from the northeastern part of North America, have a story that might be an explanation. In the story, 3 boys saw a red squirrel cutting into the tree bark with its teeth. Then later, the squirrel came back to lick the sap. One of the youth decided to use his knife to cut into the bark of a tree and discovered the maple tree's sweet secret. In the last decade, scientists have observed red squirrels making chisel-like grooves in the bark of a maple tree. After making the grooves in the tree, the squirrels left the tree and returned about 24 hours later, licking up the sap that remained on the tree. In those 24 hours, the sap had evaporated, leaving behind a high concentration of delicious maple sugar. For the Mi'kmaq, the moon before the maple sugar moon is the snow-blinding moon. For the Iroquois, it is the hard crust on snow or hunger moon. This was the time when people's winter stores started to go empty and the animals they hunted were scarce. But the sugar from the maple trees helped them make it through the winter. Like so many Indigenous stories, the people learned to survive from the animals. The Great Spirit, the earth, would care for the people through the winter by showing them and giving them what they needed to care for themselves. The people, in turn, cared for the earth.
here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
This is the time when we can send our earnest hopes or wishes, which some people call prayers, to the people who we care about. I invite you to think about your relationship with this community and how it can help you in the good times and the not so good. Think about your hopes and your hurts and how like-minded people can make you feel. In these COVID times, it is more difficult for people to get together, but I urge you to try to connect with people by phone or by Zoom or in person if you can do so safely. Stay safe, look after yourselves, and look after each other. Let It Be Known by Monica Cummings. Dear unknown, unknowable, yet known by many names, keep us mindful that we are all related, that when one of us is ignored and treated with dis-ease, we all suffer. Today, let each of us commit to welcoming the stranger. Let us move beyond our comfort zones and connect with people labeled different and pushed to the edges of society. We can make a difference. We can transform lives. We can bring harmony and healing to the places and spaces where we live, work, and play. Let us keep our hearts and minds open and receptive to the still small voice that calls us to stand witness for those who cannot stand, to speak the truth for justice for those without a voice, and to lead the way on the journey towards wholeness for those without sight. In the spirit of love, compassion, and community, let it be done. Blessed be. This is the time in the service where we can share our personal joys and sorrows. We do this by placing stones in water and allowing the ripples to carry our wishes into the universe. I have a stone I have 3 stones for Alex, who sent this message. I heard some devastating news. A very dear friend, Monsignor Paul Nadal, died this morning in Durban, South Africa, from COVID complications. And I heard that the new Archbishop of Durban, Alex Kabusa, also died from COVID. So 2 pebbles, one for Paul and one for Abel. And a 3rd pebble for my sister-in-law, Denise, who has serious back problems in Durban. I'm going to put a bunch of stones in for the many people who are dealing with the complications of COVID, and one especially for Reverend Pat's spouse, John, whose first cousin, June, died recently from COVID. a stone of joy that the inauguration of President Biden and Vice President Harris went off without a hitch. And one last stone for all the joys and sorrows held within our hearts. Please join me in a moment of silence.
Our reading this morning is from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, an enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, plant ecologist, writer, and professor. The pecan trees and their kin show a capacity for concerted action, for unity of purpose that transcends the individual trees. In the old times, our elders say, the trees talked to each other. They'd stand in their council and craft a plan. There is now compelling evidence that our elders were right. The trees are talking to one another. They send distress calls via pheromones wafted on the breeze, signal to produce nuts together through fungal strands underground. They weave a web of reciprocity, of giving and taking. In this way, the trees all act as one because the fungi have connected them. Through unity, survival. All flourishing is mutual. All are the beneficiaries of reciprocity. How generously pecan trees shower us with food, literally giving themselves so that we can live. But in the giving of their lives are also insured. Our taking returns benefit to them in the circle of life making life, the chain of reciprocity. Living by the precepts of the honorable harvest, to take only what is given, to use it well, to be grateful for the gift, and to reciprocate the gift, is easy in a pecan grove. We reciprocate the gift by taking care of the grove.
As I had mentioned, coming up this week on the Jewish calendar will be TuBishvat, the new year of the trees. TuBishvat, you might say, TuBishvat. It is a little-known Jewish festival. Actually, it's also the Arbor Day in Israel, when plants are, or trees are planted. Children will plant trees. But don't feel alone. Even Jewish scholars, like detectives, have searched for the mysterious roots of this festival. Roots, no pun intended. Roots of this new year of the trees. Perhaps it was an ancient festival marking the coming of spring. On the other hand, it appears that it was at one time a sort of a tax day. In the very middle of winter, when the first trees began waking from the winter in Israel, farmers would be assessed a tithe on the trees. In the Torah, it was commanded to set apart a tithe of all the yield of your seed, but it wouldn't go to the king. The tithe would go to the temple, the Levites who helped with religious rites and services, as well as the Gentile foreign residents, orphans and widows, so they could all eat their fill. The idea being, just as the Lord has given to you, or you could say the earth has given to you, you would return to the Lord by giving to the temple, the Levites, and to those who were less fortunate than you. Centuries later, in the 1500s, Jewish mystics brought new significance to this new year of the trees. On this day, many of these Kabbalists would try to get as close to possible to this sense of the original garden, the Garden of Eden, to taste of its fruit, and to remember the Holy Land and to spiritually repair the broken world. They created a TuBishvat Seder where they taste the fruits of the Holy Land. As you know, they would have been in the diaspora, not in Israel. So they would taste the fruits to remember the Holy Land, say blessings over them with rounds of wine and meditations about the spiritual and heavenly worlds of Kabbalism. They saw this ritual meal as one of the holy work of repairing the soul from within and releasing holy sparks to repair the world, this concept of tikkun olam. In recent times, this idea of tikkun olam, or repairing the world, has come to mean humanity's responsibility to restore and take care of the earth for now and for the future generations. From the ancient rabbinic teachings, it is often quoted at TuBishvat, this idea of when God led Adam around the Garden of Eden. God was to have said, "Look at my works. See how beautiful they are, how excellent. For your sake, I created them all. See to it that you do not spoil or destroy my world, for if you do, there will be no one to repair it after you." I don't know if in your upbringing, if you were told that your duty was not to spoil or destroy this precious world we live in. I was raised UU, so I was instructed about that. Trees are featured prominently in the Hebrew Bible and in stories and art of the ancient Near East. Trees are prominent symbols in all the religions of the world, symbols of birth, new life, enlightenment, gifts of food, fuel, and shelter. If you take care of the trees, they will take care of you. They will take care of us over and over again. As Lisa just read, how generously pecan trees shower us with food, literally giving themselves so that we can live. But in the giving, their lives are also insured. Our taking returns benefit to them in the circle of life making life, the chain of reciprocity. We reciprocate the gift by taking care of the grove. There is something so ancient, so basic, dare I say so spiritual, about humanity's history and connection with trees. This circle of life making life, this chain of reciprocity. This past year, many in our congregation have been reading the book that this morning's reading came from, Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, a mother, botanist, a distinguished professor and member of the citizen Potawatomi Nation. She's Indigenous. As you heard a little in Lisa's reading, Kimmerer weaves so seamlessly and beautifully the storytelling and teachings of the Indigenous elders with the lessons and discipline of science. Given that the Jewish New Year of the Trees this week also teaches, like Braiding Sweetgrass, of our giving back to the earth and our duty to care for the earth, this celebration of fruits and nuts of the trees, a connection to ancient wisdom, it just seemed like a ripe, no pun intended, a ripe opportunity to share some of the lessons we have been learning from this wonderful teacher, Robin Wall Kimmerer. This morning we'll talk of lessons we might learn from the trees. Again, as Lisa read, in the old times our elders say the trees talk to each other, that stand in their own counsel and craft a plan. There is now compelling evidence that our elders were right. The trees are talking to one another. Say what? The trees are talking to each other? Recently, I read a great article in Smithsonian Magazine by the British travel writer Richard Grant on this topic, and it's entitled, "Do Trees Talk to Each Other?" Are you surprised to learn the answer is yes? He wrote that since Darwin, scientists had thought that trees were loners, out for themselves, competing for water, nutrients, and sunlight, with the winners shading out the losers and sucking them dry, battlegrounds for the survival of the fittest. However, we are learning more and more that the opposite is true. Grant opens his article this way. I'm walking in the Eifel Mountain in western Germany, through cathedral-like groves of oak and beech, and there's a strange unmoored feeling of entering a fairy tale. The trees have become vibrantly alive and charged with wonder. They're communicating with one another, for starters. They're involved in tremendous struggles and death-defying dramas. To reach enormousness, they depend on a complicated web of relationships, alliances, and kinship networks. Wise old mother trees feed their saplings with liquid sugar and warn the neighbors when danger appropriately. Reckless youngsters take foolhardy risks with leaf shedding, light chasing, and excessive drinking, and usually pay with their lives. Crown princes wait for the old monarchs to fall so they can take their place in the full glory of sunlight. The trees are talking to each other. Grant notes trees of the same species are communal and will often form alliances with trees of other species. Forest trees have evolved to live in cooperative, interdependent relationships maintained by communication and a collective intelligence similar to an insect colony. These soaring columns of living wood draw the eye upward to their outspreading crowns, but the real action is taking place underground, just a few inches below our feet. Some are calling it the Wood Wide Web. Isn't that cool? The Wood Wide Web. Says forester and author Peter Wolleben, Grant's Tree Whispering Guide. Wolleben says all the trees in every forest that is not too damaged are connected to each other through underground fungal networks. Trees share water and nutrients through networks and also use them to communicate. They send distress signals about drought and disease, or, for example, insect attacks, and other trees alter their behavior when they receive these messages. Scientists call these mycorrhizal networks. The fine hair-like root tips of trees join together with microscopic fungal filaments to form the basic links of this network. Young saplings survive because big trees pump sugar into the roots through the network. Trees send chemical, hormonal, and slow-pulsing electrical and scent signals. The pecan grove that Lisa was reading about is a community of mast fruiting trees. Every few years, some species of trees and shrubs produce a bumper crop, like lots and lots of fruits and nuts. We're not quite sure why, and we're not quite sure how they tell each other, okay, guys, time to pop out all the nuts. Keep on going, keep popping out those nuts. Robin Kimmerer tells us, if one tree fruits, these masting trees, if one tree fruits, they all fruit. There are no soloists. Not one tree in a grove, but the whole grove. Not one grove in the forest, but every grove. All across North America, across the state, that she lived in. The trees act not as individuals, but somehow as a collective. What we see is the power of unity. What happens to one happens to all. We can starve together or feast together. All flourishing is mutual. The pecan trees and their kin show a capacity for concerted action, for unity of purpose that transcends the individual trees. They ensure that all stand together and thus survive. What are the trees telling us? Trees are communal and interdependent. They give to each other and they give to other beings, whether winged, four-legged, or two-legged, living by what Kimmerer calls the precepts of the honorable harvest, to take only what is given, to use it well, to be grateful for the gift, and to reciprocate the gift. Kind of like our seventh principle, UU principle, yes? The interdependent web of life. A basket weaver that Kimmerer is learning from speaks of the black ash he is working with. And this is what he says: stop and think what you are holding. The ash tree was growing out there in the swamp for 30 years, putting out leaves, dropping them, putting out more. It got eaten by deer, hit by a freeze, but it kept working year in and year out. A splint fallen on the ground is a whole year of that tree's life. And you're about to step on it, bend it, grind it into the dirt. The tree honored you with its life. You owe that tree respect, and you should never waste it. Miscellaneous bits and shavings get tossed in a box to be dried and used for tinder. John keeps to the tradition of the honorable harvest. Take only what you need and use everything you take. Kimmerer adds that just about everything we use is the result of another's life. But that simple reality is rarely acknowledged in our society. How often in our day do we, in a sense, hold a tree in our hand? It's like this. Do we see a tree in a tissue, oaks in the floor, grapevines in the wine? Follow back the thread of life in everything and pay respect. Once you start, it's hard to stop, and you begin to feel yourself awash in gifts, awash in earth's gifts. For thousands of years, the trees have been teaching us lessons we may have forgotten, but the ancients knew of: interdependence, reciprocity, giving, care, respect, and gratitude. To stand tall, we need one another. The late Richard Wagamese, the Ojibwe author and journalist, shared an old story of the mountain ash, again how the trees teach us. In the long ago time, a winter descended that was like no other. The cold was like fingers that crept under the robes and of the people and gripped the walls of their wigwams in a fierce grip. The snow piled higher and deeper than ever before. In the darkness, as their fires ebbed, they could hear the frozen popping of the trees. Have you heard that before? And the stillness that followed was haunting and eerie. Nothing moved in that great petrified world. Hunting became difficult. Everywhere creatures sought deep shelter from the cold, and hunters returned from their journeys ice-covered, shivering and empty-handed. The people made do with their stores from the summer before, but there was worry in the camps as the cold seemed to settle staunchly upon the land. They needed fresh meat to supplement their dwindling supplies. But the cold deepened. Soon it was impossible to walk more than a few minutes without freezing, and everyone kept to their wigwams, hoping and praying for a break in the glacial freeze. The wind howled mightily through those long, terrible nights, and there was talk of wendigos and supernatural monsters eager to feast on the shriveled corpses of the people. And then one morning the people emerged to a morning bright and calm. It was still horribly cold, but the Arctic wind had ceased. All around them lay bodies of animals frozen in the night. There were rabbits, foxes, marten, skunks, and birds frozen. Now you would think this would be great. We got all this food. But the people wept at the sudden calamity, and they asked their wise ones what they should do. The teachers told them to take the bodies of the fallen animals to the tree that served them best. Actually, the mountain ash is what the people would make their bows and arrows from. Their survival depended on the hunting tools provided by that tree, so the elders told them, in a sense, to make an offering to the tree, drop blood from these animals at the root of the tree and on the branches. They prayed over that ritual. They beseeched Great Spirit for a teaching, for a way of knowing that would guide them. They made offerings of tobacco, and they sang songs in honor of the great cold. The next day the cold abated, and when the hunters went out to scout food, they saw that the blood scattered on the branches had turned into bright red berries on the mountain ash, and birds and other creatures were feeding on them. From then on, the people knew when the berries were plentiful, they should go to the mountain ash to hunt in the winter. That's where many animals would gather, and there'd be plenty of berries. The mountain ash giving to all creatures in the forest, teaching the people to survive, come here in the winter. Wagamis shares that his life was changed by knowing that story. He says, "My idea of myself was profoundly altered. Oh, sure, there's a charming, folksy exuberance to it that makes for engaging telling, but when I take my morning walks out on the land, it teaches me to see in an entirely different way. My people say that there is a story hidden in every leaf and rock. The great mystery offers clues to itself in all things. If you walk too fast, you miss it. If you think you've seen it all before, you bypass new teachings, new insights. If you think you're above it all, somehow, that the land is merely there for your convenience, you become stunted, shriveled, smaller. But if you open yourself to it, allow yourself to feel it, allow it to inhabit you, you become able to construe a universe in the stories it tells you. There are lessons in every leaf and rock. In Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Kimmerer introduces us to Nana Bozo, meaning original man to the Anishinaabe. We often wish we had an instruction manual to life, and in the book we learn of some of the original instructions given to Nana Bozo. If only we had known or remembered the Great Spirit's instructions. Walk so that each step is a greeting to Mother Earth, and walk with humility. Perhaps, as Thich Nhat Hanh suggests, peace in every step. Don't control or change the world as a human, but learn from the world how to be human. Learn the names of all beings. You are more apt to care for someone, something, when you know their names, even trees and plants and four-leggeds. Protect life on earth. Learn from elder brothers and sisters. Humans were the last to arrive on earth, so our elders, our teachers, our animals and plants, and everything on the earth that came before us. And as Neo shared with us, even squirrels taught us how to make the precious maple syrup. All powers have two sides, the power to create and the power to destroy. We must recognize them both, but invest our gifts in the side of creation. The great mystery offers clues to itself in all things. If you walk too fast, you miss it. May we be helper trees to each other, the greater community in the world. Send sap and sugar when we know the other is in distress. Make connections, not try to stand alone. Keep our eyes wide open and pay attention to all that is around us. Know each other's names. Invest in our gifts of creation, not destruction. Build up, not cut down. And in this way, we too take and what I'm trying to say is in this way we also participate in Tikkun Olam, the repairing of the world. Participate in that wondrous circle of reciprocity that is our life. So let us sing Rising Green, number 1068 from our Teal hymnal.
My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak. Her sap doth run in my veins. Boundless my soul, like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hands hold the weavings of time without end. My sight as deep as the sea, beating my heart sounds the measures of old that
This is the time in our service that we usually accept the offering. You may go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how you can keep up with your pledge or to make a donation during this time. We give these gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of our congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another.
Before we extinguish the chalice, let us read words for TuBishvat. These are 4 blessings for TuBishvat by a rabbinical student, Naomi Gertlind. Trees give us air to breathe, helping to sustain life. So too may you have a long, happy, healthy life. May you have space to breathe, and may you breathe life into others by your example. Trees have roots that go deep into the ground and connect not only with the earth, but with other trees. So too may you always know the joy of family, close friends, and a community to keep you company throughout your life. May you always be surrounded by people who love you and keep you connected. Tree trunks hold steady through harsh conditions. So too may you be held steady through life's inevitable bumps. The leaves of trees know when to hold on and when to let go, called by the voice of nature herself. They follow a rhythm of their own. So too may you hear the still small voice within you, and may it inspire you to a life of goodness in harmony with the world around you. May it be so. Let us sing the Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Quod amen, vidas mori de justitia, tenurimur cielum patuam, source de vie, vievere moi, vievere moi.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Go in joy, go in peace, go in love. Happy New Year of the Trees.
Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit. Earth my body.